everybody, my name is Rolo and today we're reading more Reddit stories. So if that's your cup of tea, please do like and subscribe. And let's get into today's story. Thank you. So today's story comes from the Ask a Manager website with the title, "My boss said I'm threatened by his masculine energy. I am a millennial woman and my new boss is a Gen X man. We have been butting heads a lot, mostly because I think he lacks the basic skills and competencies to do his job. My frustration has gotten to the point where I feel like screaming most days. This past week I had to send him yet another email where I tried to politely and professionally explain that he has yet again done something wrong. I had 2 people read it for tone before I sent it. This is the opening paragraph to the 10 paragraphs he sent in response. I think, name, that you would benefit from learning about the unconscious and the psychological defense of projections and transferences that emanate from the unconscious of a person, especially one with a highly dysregulated nervous system. I am a human being too. I have done it and can do it, still do it at times, and that's why I know about it experientially. It's also why I speak to the need for grace often, as well as accountability. Believe it or not, and that is a literal statement because I really don't think you can believe it at this point in your life, I extend a great deal of grace to you. But that does not mean I am going to take on crap that you are trying to offload onto me. Nor am I going to be a wallflower as director of an organization that needs to address its challenges. Because you have been working in an all-female environment for so long, it is quite possible that you and others take the masculine energy that I at times emanate as a threat, when there is no threat. But you perceive it as so. I'm sorry about that, and I can be mindful of behaviors, but I am not going to sit in analysis paralysis while we try to adjust to the chaos left behind in the emotional wake of the Trump train. The best part about this email is that he voluntarily CC'd the board chair on it. He tries to paint me as a hysterical, flaky, incompetent woman, which fell flat because I've worked with our chair, a man, for the last 10 plus years. A few weeks prior to this email, I had asked an external project partner if I could use him as a professional reference, as he has had nothing but very nice things to say about the work I've done with him for the last 3 plus years. The day after I received this unhinged email from my boss, that project partner called me and asked how my job search was going. I said, not great. And he asked if I wanted to come work with him. We later had a 2-hour-long conversation, and I'm being offered a pay bump and an opportunity to oversee a really awesome project. So now I need to write my resignation letter to my boss. Due to our summer PTO schedules, I won't actually see my boss for another 2.5 weeks, and I won't be starting my new job until mid-August. When he gets back to the office, I would love to have a polite and professional response composed that burns this man and his quote-unquote masculine emanations to the ground. Can you offer me any advice on what to say? P.S. I spoke to an employment attorney, and because our organization has fewer than 15 employees, it's not required to comply with federal anti-discrimination laws. I apparently don't have a lot of legal rights in this instance. While this is bonkers, I am working to put together additional documentation for the board that will hopefully inspire them to fire him. Yeah, that email that he sent was absolutely unhinged. Like, as a boss, sending that email to like a direct report or whatever is just crazy. And the tone of it was very looking down his nose at her and very man on a power trip kind of feel to it. But as well as that, it read like, you can't point out my mistakes because I never point out yours and I am such a benevolent being. And it's quite obvious that's not true from the rest of the email. It was very strange to read. And the fact that he felt so confident that he CC'd the board member into the email, I'm just blinking in disbelief right now. I don't have words. But OP does come in with an update 2 months later, so let's find out how this situation got resolved, if at all. I followed your advice and submitted a 3-sentence resignation letter. It was freeing to not try to craft a longer letter. New boss made some noise about trying to get me a counter offer to keep me on, but I quickly deflected and moved on. I thought your readers would like a little more context, info, and an update on what happened after I gave notice. The organization is a non-profit that provides entrepreneurship training to adults in a specific industry and is heavily reliant on federal and state funding to do the work. Applying for and spending government funding requires knowledge of complex bureaucratic regulations and processes. I've been writing and managing government grants since 2016, and I'm pretty well respected for my work within our niche field. The funding freezes, terminations, and general uncertainty at the federal level have been devastating for my org and our partners. Besides the fact that new boss, MB, has the personality of a flaming bag of dog poo, he seems to lack any knowledge or understanding of how to navigate government funding. The board shared MB's resume with the staff before he was hired, and he had lots of grant writing and management experience listed. I was initially excited about him because I was looking forward to getting support for all of the administrative headaches that come with government funding. Unfortunately, he frequently behaves as though he's never seen a grant regulation before. Instead of reducing the burden on me, he multiplied it as I had to frequently explain to him why the thing he wanted to do was not allowable. He seems to have memory issues to boot, as I often had to explain the same thing to him multiple times. I never felt like he adequately understood what I was telling him. One of my coworkers described the situation as trying to work for a squirrel with early onset dementia. The one time he decided to write a grant, he cut me out of the process until the last minute when he handed me a complete disaster of a narrative and budget to edit the day before it was due. I worked until 10 p.m. that day and was up at 6 a.m. the next day, putting in the hours to make it submittable. The worst part was his budget, which was so uniquely formatted that I could barely interpret it. I had to explain to someone with grant writing all over their resume that funders do not accept bespoke budget formats, and could he please translate it into the proper format. I sent him a template which detailed notes on where things needed to go. He tried, but was unable to translate it on his own. I had to beg a favor from my financial director to get her to format it correctly so I could focus on rewriting the narrative portion. The financial director then complained to me that she is having to waste hours of her time each month translating QuickBooks reports into MB's bespoke format because otherwise he seems unable to understand the information. Anyway, after I submitted my notice, I emailed the board executive committee asking for an exit interview with them. The org is too small to have an HR person and doesn't really have any defined policies around exit interviews. 3 committee members assented to my request and 1 refused. This person is going to be the next board chair and also led the board committee that hired MB. They are apparently very pro-MB. Current board chair, who was CC'd on MB's email featured previously, has been trying to step down for the last few months. I think this state of transition in leadership is the main factor in MB not being fired already. I had the exit interview with the current board chair, the treasurer, and a 3rd board member last week. I came with very detailed notes about specific instances and areas of concern I had about MB's ability to successfully administer a non-profit organization. The treasurer especially asked a lot of questions, and it sounds like the financial director has also been raising concerns with them. 2 other co-workers, including the financial director, also submitted notices in the weeks after I put mine in. I honestly don't know at this point if MB will get fired or if the board will try to prop him up. I'm on my 4th day at my new job and starting to care less and less about the situation at my old job. I would be sad if they totally imploded, but it's a giant relief that I'm not there anymore. I appreciate the advice you gave me and the thoughtful responses from your readers. I would like to apologize to all the Gen X folks I offended, as I was just trying to speak to a 20-year age gap between us. Thanks again. So it seems that thanks to OP's new boss, the whole organization is collapsing from the inside. I mean, after OP, several other co-workers have already resigned, and it seems to be all due to the new boss, and OP was the one that started that chain fire reaction of just giving in the notice and jumping ship. And from what she said in the meeting where everybody was on new boss's side, I mean, one of those chair members saw the email. The unhinged email that was so hard to read that I kind of felt like I was going to have a stroke when I was reading it just for you guys. Yeah, they saw that and thought, no, this is okay. Or at least if they didn't share it to the other board members who are actually supporting him. It seems that the one chair member who OP was like close to, who they said they knew for 10 plus years, that person seems to be jumping ship too, and they're on the board committee. Like, this organization is probably going to go under within months of this post, really. But let's jump into some comments and see what they thought about OP's situation. Grumpy McGrumpy Pants says, I had to try about 5 times to try and read the expert from MB's email. My brain simply disengaged after the first line and my eyeballs just bounced off the text. The thought of 9 more paragraphs makes my hair stand on end. Co-worker's observation did make me laugh though, and quotes, a squirrel with early onset dementia. To which Nisha Chari says, Alison, the person who runs the Ask a Manager website, thanked the OP for not sending the other 9 paragraphs. Coming in the Nile says, I see the new boss excels at failing upward. Gotta keep getting promoted to the level of his own incompetence cause he ain't there yet. Darwin Mate says, I want to read the full email so I can turn it into a copy pasta. Jimothy Jonathan's replies to that saying, it definitely gives the marine copy pasta a run for its money. And one final comment from Prince Lee, who says, the funniest thing about this entire situation is that I also have experience in this. I used to do grants in a different sector. The budget is literally the first thing you put together when writing grants, because it has ramifications for the entire project. And when dealing with federal funds, the budgets and their rules almost never change, and they always use the same format. They're so consistent that when I used to train new people who didn't have experience, we'd often let them get their feet wet and let them make budgets, and then they'd shadow as we did the other part so that they'd get a handle on the process. The boss fumbling budgets means he has to have lied on his resume full stop. Either that or he's inept. Maybe both. Yeah, so I know this might come as a really huge shock to all of you that are listening, but I have no experience with this at all. So I can't actually comment on if these comments are accurate or anything like that. But if this person is saying that when dealing with government specifically, they have one way to do things, and this guy doesn't even know the first basic thing that even new people with no experience learn immediately, then how the heck did he bullshit his way to the position that he has? He was a higher position than OP, who was doing half of his job for him by correcting him and then redoing everything that he did wrong. It makes no sense. Either he knows somebody on the board committee, and that's how he managed to, nepo baby, nepo grandpa his way into the position, or he's just really good at bullshitting. I don't see how this situation came to be. Can we get a round of applause? OP got out of there, they're staying out of there, they're at their new job, and everything seems to be going swimmingly for them so far, so good luck to the future, OP, and may new boss, or a person like new boss, never darken your days again. Anyway, that is where I'm going to leave it today, guys, so I really hope you enjoyed this story. I did, so I hope you did too. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye bye!